which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Brew.
Here.
Mr. Babalani.
Here.
Dr. Hayes.
Here.
Mr. Menegini.
Here.
Mr. Pop.
Here. Need approval of the agenda. We're going to add number 29, manager performance, at the end of open session. Is there anyone would like to make a motion to approve the agenda?
What about closed session for the contracts that said if we had any questions on the
Yeah, we
contract?
could just go into closed session real quick and then come back.
Okay.
I will add
would
the
like-
closed session during or before contract settlement.
I make a motion, we approve the adjusted agenda.
Is there a second?
Support.
Mr. Babalani.
Yes.
Dr. Hayes.
Yes.
Mr. Menegini.
Yes.
Mr. Pop.
Yes.
Mrs. Brew.
Yes.
Approval of minutes of the regular meeting of June 5th, 2017. Is there any corrections or additions?
I make a motion, we approve the minutes from the June 5th, 2017 regular meeting.
Support.
Dr. Hayes.
Yes.
Mr. Menegini.
Yes.
Mr. Pop.
Yes.
Mrs. Brew.
Yes.
Mr. Babalani.
Yes.
Next is approval of manifest 2017-12 in the amount of $283,544.50. Are there any questions, Mr. Pop?
I have nothing to say.
Ms. Brew?
I just have a couple. Under electric utility fund, purchase power, $21,415.15. Is that what we paid this month? We didn't have no credits or for selling power or anything?
Mary, does the credit come off of that, or does it on?
Candy, the credit's on page 5
I
of
thought
10,
the credit was off.
because it shows up as, under the revenue account for power sales, there's a credit of $17,206. Right. See it going
I
towards the
see it,
bottom?
okay.
That's the credit for the surplus power.
All right, because they weren't by each other, that's why.
At the end of May, we actually, because we've had a credit, March, April, and May, at the end of May, we still have a credit of roughly $12,000 going into June's bill.
Okay. And then I also had a question on there, FDS, just a little bit below that, Black Start Research Project. What is that for?
Well, I wanted him to take a look at the possibility of the plant, what we would need if the plant could go black start,
What
which
is
means if the power trips out, the plant trips out, we actually have to have energy to start the plant back up. Before we went into the automation, I say before 2000 or 2002, we actually could what they call black start our plant, where the actual plant could start itself back up. And that would mean that we could at least get the plant back going, because if we have something happen that kicks the breakers out, shuts the plant off, if it's a power outage from, say, WPPI or external power, then we actually will be out of power, out of energy. And so this would at least allow the plant to start back up and do at least limited power. We could do rolling brownouts, different types of something good for, getting energy back into the community. So I just want to have take a quick look at that.
Okay.
Didn't we have some connection with We Energies for that problem?
Well, we have a connection with WPPI, but if WPPI's off the grid, then we're done. We can't,
Okay.
and if they went out and it happened to kick us out, then we wouldn't be able to start back up. If they go out and we're still running, then we're okay. It all depends on the timing and switching.
I thought we had a connection with We Energies from upstream at one time.
At one time, but then we put our own substation in and we do have that connection, but again, it's, if that connection, it doesn't matter if it's WPPI or We Energies, if that line is broken, then, we're out of power.
And the other question I had was under wastewater, transmission distribution. HD Supply Waterworks.
We had to get a new, is that the meter?
Yeah, it says water meter.
Yeah, we had to get a new meter. The meter is, you know, we had to replace the meter that we had.
Oh, down there.
Yeah, at the plant.
Okay, I was wondering what that.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all I have.
Mr. Galvani?
Yeah, I have a couple, Doc. On page 1, Ray, the civic contribution to the music in the park, that's $400 per couple hours on that day?
Yeah, that's all covered by contributions.
Okay.
It still runs through the city.
But that's what it's ran as, about $400 per
I'd say roughly.
evening?
Yeah.
Okay. The administration side, the second to the last line, the BS&A software, tax tracker, what is that, Mary, for $1,032?
That's our annual support. That's the 1,032 is the tax program and the complaint tracker software. They provide us support on those programs, all the updates. We pay it on each individual program.
Oh, okay. I got one more here, Doc. Page 6 of 10. On the bottom, Ray, there was a drill that was leased for $90. Is that something that we use a lot, a core drill rental for $90? Is that a bit or is that actually a drill? Because a drill, I mean, that's probably a $300 drill, and if we use it a lot.
I'll have to ask.
And now we're gonna have to start looking at some of this stuff because Law Homes is no longer renting. They sold all their equipment, or selling all of it.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a $300 drill and we're using it on a regular basis, maybe we should get one. That's all I have.
Mr. Renegini?
Just a little comment on purchase power. I'm surprised that we're purchasing very little with all the high water we've had. Most people think you get the high water, you do good, but that's not necessarily the case. Question, Ray, under the fire department. This money that was spent on all the treated lumber for the corn stand, did they have to build a new one? What happened to the trailer they used to sell out of? Is this coming out of their own money? Was it budgeted?
I do not know.
You do.
Lee, most of it is, they have gotten a couple nice donations towards it. They did buy a new trailer, and they're building a new one on the trailer. But everything they've spent so far is covered by the donations that they've
Okay,
received towards it.
I thought that, but I just wanted to make sure. That's all I have.
I have no further questions. We need a motion to pass.
I make a motion, we approve manifest 2017-12 in amount of $283,544.50.
Support.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes. Anybody in the audience like to make any comments on any agenda items tonight? So come to the podium, state your name and address for the record. If not, there's room for comment of any topic at the end of the meeting. Next is number 7, Resolution 2017-4, General Utility and Service Rate Resolution for year 2017-18.
Yeah, the next 4 items are the 4 resolutions that we pass on an annual basis for our budget. Resolution 2017-04 is our general utility and service rate resolution for fiscal year 2017-18. We have our 2017-05 is our pay rates for non-union employees for the same fiscal year. Then we have 2017-06, which is our General Appropriations Act, and 2017-07, which of course is our operating budget, 17-18 operating and capital improvements budget. We had public hearing at our last meeting, went through our budget, and so I'm open for questions from the council members at this time.
I guess I would like to just make another statement like I did last time, that the rates themselves for the commodities did not increase for the fiscal year.
Nor did the tax rate.
Yeah, nor did the tax rate.
Any other council comments or questions?
I'd just like to make a comment on this. I'd like to thank the manager and staff for putting all the time and effort into this. It was quite a project every year.
We need to pass these one at a time, I assume?
What
Yes.
about, the contracts? Can we go into closed session before the contracts?
Yes, when we go into, the next item after this would be the
Okay.
collective bargaining agreements. We'll do a quick closed session to
Okay.
do any final review.
We need a motion to approve Resolution 2017-4.
I'll make that motion.
Support.
I guess the only comment I'd make if we're waiting then is a time of use for the electrical fund. I think that's something that needs to be initiated. And I guess the electric utility board is going to be meeting, or we now are full.
We've met once and we're going to continue meeting to go through some of those policy type questions.
So are you ready for roll?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Next is Resolution 2017-4, pay rates for non-union employees for year 2017-18.
It's dash 5.
Next, we're on 5 now.
That's dash 5.
Yep, 2017-5, okay.
I make that motion.
Support.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Next is Resolution 2017-6, the General Appropriations Act.
I make the motion.
Support.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Next is Resolution 2017-7 for year 2017-18 operating and capital improvement budget.
I make the motion, we approve 2017-07.
Support.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
We need a motion to go into closed session.
I'll make a motion, we go into closed session.
Support.
Support.
Okay. Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes. You'll reconvene in a few minutes.
The union contract.
Bruce?
Pound on the table, Doc.
We're back into open session. The next, Resolution 2017-8, the IBEW Local 906 Electrical Employees CBA. Is there a motion to approve this?
I'll make a motion, we approve Resolution 2017-08.
Support.
Mrs. Brew?
Abstain.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Next, Resolution 2017-09, the IBEW Local 906 Supervisors Employees CBA.
I'll make a motion, we approve 2017-09.
Support.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Next is Resolution 2017-10, the ASME Local Number 1176 CBA.
I make a motion, we approve 2017-010, or
Ten.
dash 10.
Support.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Next is Resolution 2017-11, authorizing notice of intent to issue electric revenue bonds. Mr. Anderson, make some comments.
Yeah, this is something we discussed during budget hearings. We started with the discussion of refinancing our bonds, our current 2007 electric revenue bonds. The interest rates are very attractive for us to refinance this. We're going to save approximately $1 million based on an estimate from our bond financial advisor. So, we were moving in that direction. At the same time, we ended up having to work on some issues with our current runners. This is something we talked about extensively last year. We went through the course of the year with a patch modification, and when we opened up this year, that did not work, so we're going to need to move forward with some new runners. What we're doing is we're going to refinance, and we're also going to issue for a new bond issue at 1.5 million, maximum 1.5 million. Our estimate for the project is 1.3 million, but based on these authorizing notices, we need to make sure we're above that, because if we don't, then we have to come back with another 45-day referendum. So we don't anticipate getting close to the 1.5, but that's just how the notice has to be put together.
Did the recent increase in Fed rate of 0.25% going to affect this?
Well, that's, it all depends on when we go out. Our advisor doesn't think it has much of an impact at all.
Okay, because there is another increase scheduled for later this summer.
Yes. She doesn't think that this is going to affect it. This is just a good climate for municipal bonds. So, we think we're in good shape.
Any other questions?
Did you point out, Ray, that the money savings by refinancing covered 3/4 of the project?
Yeah, and when we did the evaluation, one of the things we stressed to both our bond counsel and our financial advisor is that we don't want any impact whatsoever to the rates. We do have a secondary issue, they call them the energy bonds or CREP bonds, and the way that we can structure this issue, it will have no effect on the rates whatsoever. So that $1 million of savings is going to offset the majority of the project.
We need a motion.
I make a motion on resolution 2017-11.
Support.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes. Next is Resolution 2017-12, authorizing notice to intent to issue cable TV refunding bonds.
Yeah, this is a similar issue on the cable side. We have a bond issue out on our cable from our last project. Again, we wanted to evaluate refinancing these bonds. Savings isn't quite, because of the timing on this bond issue, it's a 2009 issue. Savings isn't quite the same, but we also want to restructure the bond details, the payment schedule. So I think, again, this is important for us to move forward. This is a 45-day referendum, and this is something that, in looking at our cable fund and our cable budget, that it's important for us to restructure that payment debt.
That's not, go ahead, Mark.
Go ahead, Lee.
That's not going to change
Does not change the rates. Again,
rates.
That doesn't affect the rates.
It's not going to affect the years that we have to pay. Are we stretching this out a little more?
We might be stretching them out a little bit.
We didn't really get into the details of that. We'll look at it once we, get closer to it, but that was an option if we want to keep the payments a little bit lower. We could add
Yeah.
a couple years, but that's something we'll decide
Okay,
when it
and
gets closer to it.
As of right now, then, how much is the savings? I know it's not nearly as much as we are on the electric bonds.
Do you remember what she said the savings?
It wasn't, less than 50,000 over the life of it.
Well, it's still worth doing, though.
Well, in bond counsel's comment
Yeah.
was any savings is a savings.
Yeah, okay.
It's also going to free up some money for our projects that we're not going to have to take out of that struggling fund. I make a motion, we approve 2017-12.
Support.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew,
Yes.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Next is approval, Miller Canfield engagement letter for electrical bonding refinancing.
Yeah, as far as the, moving forward with both the cable and the electric bonds, we have to have engagement letters with our bond counsel, Miller Canfield. We've used Miller Canfield for 30 years plus to handle all of these types of issues. So again, we have one for each, one for the electric and one for the cable.
I suspect it's longer than 30 years.
Yeah, I suspect that, yes. Predates me, though.
We need a motion?
I'll make a motion that the letter of engagement with Miller Canfield can be approved.
Support.
Mrs. Brew,
Yes.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
And the same for Miller Canfield and the cable TV bond refinancing.
I make a motion, we approve the Miller Canfield engagement letter for the Cable TV Department of Bond Refinancing. Be
Support.
approved.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Next is PFM Financial Advisors Engagement Letter, electrical bond refinancing. Mr. Anderson.
Yeah, this is our financial advisors, PFM LLC, Advisors LLC, Ms. Carrie Blanchette. She's handled our financial advisory role for quite a few years, Mary. I don't know how many, not as long as Miller Canfield, but she's been with us for quite a while now. And so she actually has an engagement letter as well for us to move forward.
Is there a motion?
I make a motion, we approve the PFM Financial Advisory Engagement Letter for the electric bond refinancing.
Support.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Suggesting questions? Okay. Next would be letter of engagement, Oak Crest Golf Club water use. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Last year, when we approved and moved forward with the Oak Crest Golf Club, Inc. for a lease agreement to manage the golf course, there was on Section 9 of the agreement, it talked about the city's use of need for water through irrigation of Marion Park, of the baseball fields and the soccer field for, and that water goes through the river pump and through the pond out on number 16 on the golf course. It said, generally speaking, within Section 9 that we've come up with an agreement that on how to use, and actually talked about putting and installing a meter for, for coming up with the proportional amount of what the costs are to pay for a proportional amount of the cost of maintaining and operating the river pump and the course pump, and pond 16. So during the course of the year, we looked at putting that meter in, and the complex meter that we needed for that size pipe, that size line, was roughly about what, $5,000, $5,000 or $6,000. And so what we decided to investigate was, can we come up with and calculate a flow, the amount of water we need for both, how much we use for our use, and also the golf course knows what they use on a nightly, daily basis. So when we came up, I show the calculations within your packet that the percentage on an annual basis of what we use is about 13%. We irrigate the same time they do, so it's not a matter of one or the other going at a different time period. When they need water, we need water. So that we felt pretty confident that 13% proportional amount is pretty solid. So what we propose is this letter of agreement, which stipulates that, you know, on an annual basis, we'll receive their previous year's cost for maintaining and operating, you know, those two pumps and repairs that need to be made, you know, in that system, just that portion of the system. And that, you know, obviously we will approve that amount, and then they would pay over the course of the next year, in their lease agreement, they would deduct per month the amount that's agreed to. So the calculations are within your packet. I worked with Grant on the letter of agreement. So I guess if there's any legal questions that you might have, I'm sure he could answer that.
Yeah, my only comment, Ray, on this, I mean, I think it's somewhat of an inexact science, but I think Ray's nailed it down pretty well as far as trying to figure out our water usage with Oak Crest and trying to maximize and be smart about, you know, do you put a $6,000 meter on the pipe or take a look at the total usage and work it through the way he's done. I would ask the council, Ray and I were chatting a little bit about the actual numbers as far as the dollars and cents reimbursement at this point. I think that's one last thing that we need to figure out or sit down with the club to look at the actual dollars and cents of reimbursement. Attached to the agreement, just for reference purposes, was a summary of costs that the club put together for irrigation, and it did include some of, I think it noted sprinkler head replacements and some things that may or may not have been associated per se with the ball fields or the city fields that we're utilizing to do the irrigation. So I think the 13% makes sense based upon Ray's analysis and his water usage rates. But as far as the actual dollars and cents of the agreement, I think it makes sense for the council to approve the agreement in principle, and then for Ray and I to sit down and chat with the club, just to make sure that we have, you know, for accounting purposes, the receipts and documentation as to the actual dollars and cents. So I think the 13% or the ratio is appropriate based on last year's usage, and I think the agreement is sound in that regard, but just I wouldn't want to put a specific dollar amount at this point as to reimbursement. We'll have to finalize that aspect of it.
I know this is just for the rates of the water that's being used, but who actually controls the watering of the soccer fields? I know that right now, obviously, we don't need much, but I know Scott has stressed interest that it was not getting watered adequately, the soccer fields. Does the Golf Commission control the watering, or is it the Parks and Recs area that controls the watering?
Well, the Parks and Recreation controls the actual watering. The issue we had this spring going forward was that they had an issue with their computer program, which we worked with them to solve. So they had to bring someone from Toro, who is a program that they use, to come in and work on that. So if they have a hiccup, we obviously go up there. It's to our benefit to get up there and get it solved with them. You know, so we monitor
So the
that quite
Parks and the
closely.
Recs actually control the watering. I know this is just the rates that we're
Yes.
working with the golf
For
course.
the water.
Yes.
For the water,
Yeah, we control the timing of
Okay.
what we need.
and that hiccups
And
squared
and
away.
then the hiccups squared away. You know, we had a hiccup last year. I think this stuff happens. I mean, that's a pretty dynamic system. I know the golf every year, they have to monitor
Okay.
the pond, and so.
With the recent changes in Lansing and legal decisions that were made, is the city able to provide electricity to our own pump?
I'm going to say that, I'm not going to answer that, just because, I'm not going to say no. There's some parts of the agreements that were put forward that would allow us to have that conversation, but I don't know from a legal standpoint if we can actually have them disconnect and have us connect. So, I don't want to put you off, but I need to answer, I need to get an
need to
answer to that
find out.
specific question. I've been dealing with so many other types of questions off of the hearing. We had a meeting last week where we went through that again, and there's some, now there's some discussions that we're going to have with some of the investor-owned, because they could actually go to the legislature and change the legislation based on this, and it could be to our detriment. So we want to go and we actually want to work with them now to make sure that we don't actually, we have a 100% win, and we end up losing because they have more power in the legislature. So we don't want to tip our hand too hard on that. I'll ask that question specifically, though, this week.
Okay. And also Wisconsin Electric offers variable rates, very much lower rates if power is used at night. Is there any way that the golf course can operate its pumps only at night and save a significant amount of money?
There's not enough, we have looked at that year in and year out, and there's not enough savings for the time that we use. We go beyond the time, so the extra amount that we spend by watering in the morning and during the high peak rates, it doesn't pay. We've never been able to, we just can't make it, the watering within the time period that they have.
That's regulated by the Golf Commission anyway.
Yeah.
We have no, they run the
Yeah,
show
right.
up there.
Okay, well, that's my question. Can we save money that way then? If we can't hook up our own meter out there?
I can tell you in regular communications with the committee or with the golf club, that they're looking at every angle to save money out there. This would be one that I'm sure they've looked at again, even though we've looked at it a number of times. I'm sure they looked at it over this past year.
We need a motion to approve the letter of agreement with the Oak Crest Golf Club water use.
I make that motion.
Support.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes,
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes. Approval letter of agreement, Norway Township LED street lighting. This has been explained in the package. Are there any questions?
I was under the impression that the township was gonna pay for those up front, and we weren't gonna tie our money up for a year. I don't know when that changed, that they're gonna make payments and have it paid off within a year.
Well, that was actually communicated early this year. We talked with them early on about their option for them to pay for the lights, and we'd install them and they would get the new rate. And they did come back and say that they wanted to have us install them and they'd be willing to pay the higher rate for a period of time for us to recover. That was something we talked about during the budget hearing as well.
Yeah, I was under the impression that it was going the other way, but I must have missed
I
it.
think you brought it up during the budget hearings.
Yeah, I
but,
did.
Mr. Anderson had indicated what he's saying now.
Okay.
is there a time frame that we have to have these put up? Because wouldn't it be ideal if we did this during our slow time, especially since we're down a man?
Yeah, there's not a real time frame when we do it. I think if we got on it, I think Tim said we could do it in about 2 days, 2 to 3 days. We could have them, replaced. But that's what he indicated to me.
Okay.
I do agree. I mean, if they're,
I think it's gonna take longer than that.
but like I say, right now, we're not working at the hydro. We watered up number 3 today, and we're gonna be out of there, for a while until, and Myron comes back next week to complete the
That's a
bridge
lot
frame.
of lights, ain't there?
There's 130. I don't think it takes them a tremendous amount of time per light, so they just have to, get on it. So if we scheduled it during a week, like, within the next couple of weeks actually might be a good time, because, like I said, they're not gonna be able to get down to the hydro, other than the maintenance in the morning. We're gonna be out of there for a little bit.
It just
But you're
seems-
right, I mean, a slow time would be the time to put them in. And we do not have a requirement under this when we would do it.
Okay.
And if we put in one, then that light is charged just based off the one. It's not based off of all of them together. It's just however many we can put in.
Any further questions? Otherwise, we need a motion.
I'll make a motion that the LED streetlight agreement be approved between the City of Norway and Norway Township.
Support.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes,
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Resolution 2017-13, Compliance Services Agreement, MEUW.
This is also something we talked about during the budget hearing. I know earlier this spring, it brought up at the council meetings, and we indicated that because goes across the different departments, that, you know, we'd have this communication during the hearing. You know, we had the conversation. We do need to move forward with a service agreement. I guess if the council so chooses, so I'm bringing it to council tonight. This is for 2017, so we've actually been working for the better part of the year, you know, on this, you know, this goes through the end of the year. Come November, December, we will obviously bring this back up for 2018 for evaluation.
I know we talked about it, and I do think we need to keep stepping forward with the safety plan. I am not real happy with the game plan on how it was laid out in our packet on the actions that were going to be taken by the individual that's ahead of that. I don't think there's a clear definition on what he's going to be doing by reading that packet for the $33,000 or 32, whatever it is, 32,000 plus. I think it needs to be laid out a little bit better on what we can expect, so we know when we pay that money what we got. I read it a couple times and I don't think it's adequate.
Any other comments from the council?
Before the council votes, I was looking through on the contract term, paragraph 2, and clarify the city manager's comments regarding commencement on January 6, 2017, continues for initial term of 2 years, ending on January 6, 2019.
We're going to bring this back up in December. I would request that we modify that. Because I think we have to evaluate it based on a full year.
So you're saying that the 19 should be the 18, 2018 instead of the 2019?
Yeah, I'm gonna request we do that, because one of the things that we're gonna evaluate, we're at 25% right now. We talked about that. I've talked about that with Mike, and I've talked about it with his boss down at MEUW, who runs the program, that, you know, we switched from 20 to 25, and when we talked in the budget hearing, we talked about what we still need to accomplish. We have a list of goals that I believe we need the 25% to accomplish by the end of this year, with our safety plan and some of our documentation. That needs to be done. And moving forward, I believe that we could evaluate at that point, moving down to the 20% instead of the 25. That's what I was looking at. That's why I don't want to go into 2 year. That's why I don't want to go to 2019.
I think that's what we talked about too, dropping.
That's what we
down to
talked
20.
about,
We
yeah.
stay with the 25% until the end of the year and then go down to 20%.
Right. And that gives them time too to manage that and adjust, and, you know, it's not just, you know, bring it to them at the last minute.
I make a motion on resolution 2017-13
Do you want the resolution to change the date?
with the change of the,
And I would also like to see a little bit clearer guidelines on what's going to be performed.
The actual resolution says 17, so,
It says 17, 18.
oh, it says January 1st, 17 through December.
But in the contract here.
I know, but I'm saying in the resolution, we got 17, so we'll have the contract revised to reflect the resolution that you're approving.
Okay. I'll support it with the changes.
Mrs. Brew?
yes,
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes,
Approval of City Hall HVAC Upgrade Project Phase 2.
Again, we talked about this during the budget hearings. In our last project, there's quite a bit of work that we did on our system, mainly in the computer computer area, the controls area. There was still some areas identified by the HVAC contractor that in order to get more control of the system, we actually physically had to put some other components within the ductwork. So especially out in the lobby area, in the main area with where the ladies are sitting, so he gave us an estimate of $22,100 or a proposal for doing that work. So we put that in the budget. That was part of the budget that we went through. So I'm asking to move forward with that, to have that done this summer.
Was there engineering involved this time with this? I know there was engineering was done originally, but the engineering was terrible for this building.
Yeah, one of the problems, Mark, and I wouldn't handle the project the same way. On this particular type of project, I think it's better to go with a design-build type project, so that whoever engineers it is installing it. And when the city hall was built, it was not built with that. It was built with an architect, and they had their own mechanical engineer design. So the HVAC contractor didn't have the design capability, or didn't have the design responsibility. They just installed whatever the engineers designed. This particular contractor that we've been working with, they do design build. And so that's why they went through, they evaluated it. Warranty would be a good thing to discuss with them. However, because they're retrofitting, I'm not sure what they're willing to guarantee, because we could run into some other issues that we have to address. I know you want to talk about warranty, but because of the retrofit nature, I'm not sure what we could actually get out of the warranty.
Well, I mean,
They'll warranty craftsmanship for sure, but just a performance guarantee would be a little tough.
Yeah, I know what they spent originally on this building, and it was terrible the way it was designed. And you're right, I was thinking about a warranty, but if we can't, we can't. Just
I
glad
think they're
there's
going to
engineering.
I think they're going to do what they can to stabilize the heat and the cool. But like I said, I think it would be tough to stick a performance warranty on them.
I can't find it now, Ray, but wasn't in here someplace they were talking about where some area wasn't insulated properly?
Yeah, we have to put some additional insulation in the attic. They typically, there's 8 inches of insulation in the attic, and from what I understand now, they typically like to put a foot. So there might be another 3 to 4 inches of insulation that we want to stick up there. That would not be done by this contractor. I'm going to have that done locally. So I'd like to get this job done first, and then we can come back in, and
Right.
once that's done, then we can put the insulation in.
Is there any sensors that have to be put up in the ductwork up there before they get
Yeah,
the
there's-
insulation?
Yeah, there's some sensors. There's some VFDs that they have to put up there. There's some sensors, so there's some work they have to do before they do that.
Okay. I make a motion, we approve the energy control and design contract for the HVAC upgrade project phase number 2, not to exceed $22,100.
Support.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Approval of sewer SAW project reimbursements.
This is pretty standard form you're going to see now as we move forward in our 3-year project with our SAW project. This is a pretty small reimbursement request. I think, what was it?
$21,742.
Yeah, $21,000. So, again, that's 90% grant, and so our cost is $2,147.20.
How far along are we on this now, Ray?
We're right at the beginning stages.
I know, because I'm pretty sure it's the third one that's came through.
It's the third one, yeah, cost-wise, they're all been pretty.
And the total grant was
200, no, it was more than that, it's like 300,000.
three something?
Yeah.
Need approval to approve the $21,742.
I'll make a motion that the SAW grant disbursement number 3 request be approved for $21,742.
Support.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Approval USDA RD Water Project Pay Request.
Yeah, we actually have 3 pay requests here. Again, every second meeting of the month, we're going to have both water, sewer, and then the wastewater treatment plant pay requests. So that's a total of 3 pay requests. The first one is for the water. That's going to be for $819,507.33.
I make a motion, we approve the water payment project for $819,507.33.
Support.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Okay, sanitary sewer is $502,351.14.
Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion, we approve for the sanitary sewer project pay request an amount of $502,351.14.
Support.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Then the last one is for the wastewater treatment plant, $779,314.94.
We need a motion.
I'll make a motion, we approve the wastewater payment request for $779,314.94.
Support.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Approval of the water sewer project local share pay request.
As part of this overall project, if you remember, we went back and we approved $300,000 towards local share being parts of a project that we complete a street, we extend a street, we looked at an area like the crescent shape on the avenues between the streets and the project. So we're going to see, well, I'm going to call them the local share pay requests come through for the water sewer project, and they'll be paid out of that $300,000. This particular request is for 2,821, 2,000, let's see, made a mistake on it, it's 2,000, no, it's $2,680.57. There was some retention on it. I'm looking at the wrong paper, sorry.
I make the motion water sewer project local share for $2,680.57.
Support.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Finally, a grant for new voting system, resolution 2017-14.
Trish, you want to take this one? This is a request from the clerk, actually from the county clerk, for new voting machines. And any questions, Trish can help you, but we need to pass a resolution for them to put in for the voting equipment.
I have one question for you, Trish. How old are the machines we have now?
Oh, I don't, old, very old.
Will the Russians be able to hack our new system?
I don't know. Not costing us anything.
We need a motion to approve the grant.
I'll make a motion, resolution 2017-14, grant for new voting system be approved.
Support.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
No.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Anyone in the audience like to address the council on any issue? Please step forward, date your name and address for the record, and please limit your comments to 5 minutes.
Good evening, council members. My name is Joe Spadaro, and I'm here few months ago, the shop itself, shop equipment, assets of the shop itself was purchased by Northern Machine and Repair from Escanaba. We have an individual in the shop got all the machines in good working order with intentions of operating the whole shop premise where it was operating before. And myself and my partner are in the process of purchasing the remaining assets of Kaiser Heikler. This should be wrapped up within 30 to 45 days. I previously worked at Kaiser Heikler from 2006 to 11, running the shop. I went to Northern Machine Repair in Escanaba. The past 5 years, the company which actually purchased the shop here, with the understanding of a working agreement together to get the business operating again. And we'd like the opportunity to be of service to the city of Norway. That's what I have.
Any questions from the council?
I guess I'd like to say I appreciate you guys stepping up to the plate with that building and taking it over,
Yes, sir.
so we have something in there.
Thank you. It's a passion of ours, and I enjoy Heikler.
And I do hope the city can utilize your services.
I also hope to have the opportunity.
We should schedule some time to get together and,
Yes, sir.
you know, so you can educate me on,
Yes, sir.
and Tim on where we can be of some service.
Absolutely. We'd like to set up a meeting with you.
Sure.
Okay?
Thank you for coming in and
Thank you,
sharing
gentlemen.
with us.
Anybody else in the audience like to come ask comments or questions to the council?
Doc, we have 29 on the
Oh,
agenda.
that's right. Excuse me.
My name is George Sylvia. I live at 5952 Summer Road. I got a little conflict on some land, my Summer Road and Valley River Road there. Back 79 years ago, the city quick clean deed, Francis Serbia, and the idea on this area was that the city could have 33 feet on the north side, if to use it for road, highway, or whatnot. This is 79 years ago. What did the city do? Nothing yet on it there. I was told by people, some people in council, some people in office, that this is gonna go back to me. You know, it's gonna reverse. You know, the thing is, when is it gonna reverse? I come here tonight, I was told tonight, it's gonna be, all the people in the council are gonna vote on it, that it's gonna go back to me. That's why we came here tonight. And you know what? Everybody knows it, what's going to happen here. Like I said, 79 years is a long time. I cut the grass there. I took the hill down there. Had Alan Wilson take the hill down. Cost me $800. Cost me another $200 for survey. I found out the land isn't mine. I've been cutting it. Not only my front grass, with the weed eater, everything. For 70-some years. And what did I get? Nothing. Everybody's sitting back. They're not gonna use the land. If you want it, you can keep it, as far as I care. It's not gonna hurt me. But to go cut 33 feet to have a city crew out there for 3 hours, or cutting there, well, what's wrong with, this was brought up how many times ago? And nobody's doing anything about it.
I guess I would like to add that I have met with George and I've met with Ray and Jim Wiseman, and I was under the impression that it was going to be on the agenda tonight and it was going to be turned over to Mr. Serby. I don't know where that had changed, or if it did change, or if it didn't. But I was kind of disappointed that it wasn't on there.
I was down in the city hall Wednesday, and I checked what's on the agenda. It wasn't on the agenda, and I told the girls, this gotta be on the agenda. Well, those are facts or something that went to your office. Ray was gone, and I people that's, you can keep the land, as far as I care. It's been going on for a while. I mean, what?
Where are we? where are
George,
we
I
at
had no
with that,
idea
Ray?
about this, but it's
Well, I
also
need to
not
get the
Mark's
legal
but Bonnie's.
paperwork.
It's supposed to be the
I
whole
never,
council.
I don't remember
One door,
picking a date that it was
I
gonna
had
be
no
on the
idea this was
agenda.
going on.
I know,
Me either.
what I said, it's been going around and around and around.
What?
And you know,
What was that?
Grant Carlson, you know what's been going around.
I didn't know that it came down to.
George, we've been talking about, we talked about the lease for quite a while,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
And
and
we-
we said, that's all we do. First of all, the idea was get a survey and survey it. I had it surveyed. Why spend all that money? That's all you gotta do is take this sheet here, that's already made, and reverse it. That's all you gotta do.
When it was brought up a couple weeks ago, Ray, I was under the impression that that's what you had came up with along with Jim Wiseman, that it
There
was
was no
gonna be.
time frame. It has, the legal paperwork has to be drafted for us to revert the property. I can't just
Yeah.
develop that and bring it to the council.
I
it
understand
has to
that,
be
but when
developed.
we talked about that, I was told that it was not a big deal, that it wouldn't take that much, and you
I
were
don't
gonna
think it
contact
was.
Grant, and you were gonna get this taken care of.
And I did contact Grant and working towards it. I didn't pick a date. I don't remember picking a date. It isn't that difficult of a task, but it is a task, and it takes some time.
Well, originally, when I talked to you, it was part of a purchase agreement that we were gonna purchase your land. In exchange, we were gonna give you that land along the highway, or along the road, and we were gonna fix up everything else. But then it turned out you didn't wanna sell the land, you wanted to rent it, so that was done while I was gone.
There's a TV issue, and this is another issue. And I thought for sure this would be solved too, but I don't know why.
I don't understand why it's taken so long either.
Everybody gotta say something about this land. Everybody in the council gotta say something. Just, it's made wrong, it's 79 years old, and it tells you right there. It goes back, if it's not used, it would be reversed back to the owner.
I had no idea about this. You shouldn't have just talked to Mark Babalani. It should have been brought forth in front of the whole council.
Grant, how long does that take to get that, I mean, is that something in the next 2 weeks that could be taken care of?
If it's just a simple right of reversion, which is what it sounds like it is, it doesn't take a lot to simply draft a deed from the city back to George, reverting it back to him. No, it doesn't take a lot of time. But I need to have a survey, I need to look at the deed. I don't know, is there a title search? Do we know? I assume that George still owns the property, but does he own the property? Is there a title search done on it? Is a survey? I think that Jeremy Pip, was it Jeremy Pip that was working on that for you, George? Okay.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Can I just help,
Yeah.
George? I'm his daughter-in-law, Wendy Serbia. This is just extremely important to him, as you guys can see. So is there a sense of direction, like can you tell him what the steps that need to be taken and what will be done and what sort of final timeframe can it be completed? Is there something formally that George needs to do to begin the process?
The thing is, I'm not even gonna work till, because I'm gonna tell you. Last Wednesday, I went down to Aurora Bay thing. Penny, check my Facebook. She said, what happened in March the 4th, 5th, and 6th, and 7th? Why? Something must have happened. And you know what happened? Remember I was down here? My face record went to 8th.
So
And I'm not gonna go on anything more.
for
I come here.
this, is there something that George needs to do properly so it can be addressed?
Well, if you're looking at me, I've been talking to George for months, and we've gone on circles on a number of different issues. If this needs to be brought back up to the forefront, if the council directs me as your city attorney, because that's how I act, is through the council. If the council directs me to bring this back to the forefront, just like we did with the lease, work through it with George, we can get it taken care of again and bring it to a resolution, just like we did the lease last time, and proceed accordingly.
So what is it that, is there anything he has to do at this moment for this to be completed?
Well, again, if you're asking me,
For
I think we.
anyone? Wait,
I think we can meet off camera, after the council meeting and go over it in detail. Again, I'm not gonna review all the legal records or the deeds right now, but we need if he has a title search, the deeds, and an indication from council that the council wishes to revert this property back if it in fact is in George's name, and the reversion is in there, which I think we've talked about that, George, in the past, one of your concerns in the grass cutting up in that area. Then it's just brought before the council, get on the agenda, and the council approves
Should we
it.
at this point make an appointment with someone to have that meeting that you're discussing? It should be.
We can address it after the council meeting.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Yep, no problem.
I would like to add that Mr. Servia is certainly free to use the land, and he has used it over the years, and I don't think that he's out anything, except maybe less taxes because he doesn't own the frontage on that side of the highway, but certainly this can be arranged if our legal counsel can get all the paperwork together, except that it probably will end up costing the city significant dollars.
I guess I would like to see the council come to an agreement, and I'm totally for getting this taken care of as soon as possible. Because I think that Mr. Servia has been more than fair with us, and it's very important to him, and I thought we were under agreement that it would revert back to Mr. Servia, and he needs that in writing, as far as I'm concerned, and it needs to be done fairly soon.
The thing is, despite tonight, you agree with it, so we get the paperwork, we don't have to wait for next council after, it's all taken care of. Or you have to go to a council meeting.
Grant, do you need official direction from
George,
the
I'd
council?
love, we came here a lot, remember we did that lease, we kind of worked it through quickly and got you on the agenda. When you're dealing with land, you want to make sure that the i's are dotted and the t's are crossed. I'll be happy to work with your daughter-in-law and you as well. We've worked well in the past. We'll get it taken care of, George, and make things taken care of. I mean, if you don't want that property and you want it to revert back, then we'll make it work.
No, he wants the
Or,
property,
I'm sorry,
and he wants
flip
it
it,
reverted
yeah.
back to him.
You know, oh, it's gonna be solved, I went home, I'm gonna stay solved, all my markers off, we'll take the land back.
Who told you that? Who told you that?
Well, Mark was on the radio, he said it's gonna be all solved and everything, so I took this thing off and everything. And when I found out Wednesday, it's not on the agenda. You know what's gonna happen Wednesday? It poured, how's the rain pulled out there, and I put my stakes right back here.
See, George, you can't work with one individual council member. It has to be majority before anything can be done. One council member can't go upon themselves to say it.
Ray was involved in it, and it was facts,
Like I said before though, George, let's make this clear, that when it comes to, as Mr. Carlson stated, that when I said it's really not that big of an issue, it really isn't, but the paperwork, it's not something that just gets done in a couple of days, because we have to go through, and I have to transfer it over to our attorney, who goes through all of those things he mentioned, the survey, the title search, the deed. You have the survey, so I mean, we have paperwork. It takes some time, because when we don't do due diligence on property, we all will get into trouble. And so I guess I'm sorry that there was a misconception on when it was actually coming to council, but I never, I'll go on record as saying, never said a date when it would, because I wouldn't do that, because I need to know what his schedule is. I don't do that work, he does. So you throw my name out quite a bit, I have to transfer this over. This is legal paperwork. People paperwork. Thank you.
I guess I would like to clear the record too, that he had called me and asked me a couple questions, but it was decided by the council when he was here for the lease that it was reverting back to him. So it's not something that I decided. It was already a council decision that was made. Right, Grant?
It wasn't brought up, you told him that it was gonna be brought up at this
Be around the
meeting. Point at rate, that's gotta be,
Yeah, you
I know.
can't, you don't make the agenda, Mark, you can't
I didn't
speak
make
for
the
all of
agenda.
us.
I didn't make the agenda. That's what I was told, that it was going to be on, that it was not a big deal.
But Mark, if you're saying that I said that it was gonna be on this meeting, I did not.
Bullshit.
Well, I did not.
sorry, George, I didn't know nothing about this. I had no idea about this. We'll get this straightened out.
We'll get it straightened out. As soon as we can get it done. The paperwork just gotta get done and be done right.
I have to apologize, I missed item 29 on the agenda. Mr. Bubbalani wanted to bring up managerial assessment in open session. Do you have any comments?
Yes, I do. I'm very disgusted. I looked at the report for the Public Works Department. They had 72 missed digs, 6 water turn-ons, 9 reads, and 1 repair. The 1 repair was the repair that was over on Saginaw Street and 6th, I believe it is. That water leak was leaking for 7 weeks. I put in a work order. It was there for 7 weeks. There was a cone in front of Dr. Gladstone's old office here, was actually this spring with a little sinkhole. That cone sat there for, I believe it was 2.5 weeks. Now we have a cone in the center of traffic on the main street, a block down, that's been there over a week. I pulled the cone back, I looked when there was no traffic, there is a sinkhole, I don't know how big it is under the road. It's a hole in the road that's basically about 4 inches in diameter. It is right in the traffic area. The cars are going around the cone, and I know the manager is in charge of all the personnel, and I do not believe that that should be left like that. These work orders are not getting turned around, and I'm going by the work reports that the Public Works have, and I don't believe the manager is handling his personnel adequately. It's ridiculous. Last Saturday, there was 4 guys on a Saturday watching one guy work on the corner by Mike's on Main. I watched him there for about an hour.
Do you know what was going on down there? Do you know if they needed 4 guys?
I don't know what they needed, but I watched how they were working.
So, okay. And once you say you put in a work order, who'd you put a work order in with?
With the girls down here. I called in a work order, and you can do that. That's acceptable. Any citizen
Yes.
can call in a
Yep.
work order.
Yep. You're right.
Well, I think Mr. Ball should be here as to explain why it wasn't done. Because you can't expect the manager to go out there and dig it with the shovel himself, and all he can do is turn the work order over to the proper person. Maybe there's some extenuating circumstances, I don't know, but I know this much, we're very understaffed.
Well, I look at the work reports that they have. They had 72 missed digs there was 5 guys. I don't believe there was any extended vacations. There was 6 water turn-ons, 9 reads, and reading does not have to be done by one of the personnel that's in that department, and there's 1 repair.
And what about all the projects going on in town?
I'm going by what's listed right here.
I know, but they
This is
still
the
have
work-
a lot of projects going on.
Well, then how come they're not listed on here? Everything, this is the work performance for the month for the
I don't
Public
know why it
Works.
ain't on there, but I know I've been at every meeting with Baco every Tuesday, and there's a lot of different things going on. And as far as the guys down there, who are you to say if they need 4 or 5 guys? Do you know what the extent was?
No, but I'm going by what I seen over there. I'm just saying, we have a water leak, we got a hole on the main street in the traffic flow that's been there for over a week. It has to be fixed. It's in a hazardous situation. It's right directly in the traffic flow. And it's on the main street.
Well, I think that, I agree with Lee. David should be here to answer these questions. But as one council member, you can't, by yourself, direct what's going to happen.
I'm not
During the
directing what's
city.
going to happen. I'm putting up the work orders.
But you are trying to direct what's going to happen, because obviously you haven't read the council policies, because we do have a problem. And one of the policies under D is, it is understood that no council member as an individual shall order the manager, department heads, or any employees to do anything either directly or indirectly, or implied through intimidation. Only after action of a full council may the order be given to the manager to have something done.
I'm discussing his work, I'm discussing the performance, and he's in charge of the personnel. What do you think, Grant? I can discuss the manager's performance, and he's in
You
charge of
can-
the men.
You can do that, but you call and then you're directing orders of what should be done.
No, I'm
And I'm
not.
just saying, as a council person, I don't have a problem with that, but it should come from majority of the council, not one individual.
What's the legalities, Grant? I'm discussing his performance, and he's in charge of the men.
I think it comes not just the performance here, there's other, I've heard multiple complaints that you're telling city employees what to do.
That has never taken place.
Well,
I know my boundaries.
Okay, well,
I do
that's
know that I've had complaints. This hasn't been, I've just kind of let it go, but some of the employees would like me to say something, is they're feeling intimidated. They're feeling harassed by pictures that are taken of their cell phones, sent around to the community, shown to the community, that there's a lot of upset people out there about this that are working for the city. Is that something that should be happening? No, but there is some people out there that need to get a little jumped, and that would come from Ray. Give them a little boost. Hey, I'm not saying everyone's perfect, but there's a lot of worried about harassment out there.
I'm just wondering why some of these projects aren't getting completed.
Yeah, it sounds like we need to talk.
And I think that would be a good point, like what Lee is saying, that Mr. Ball should be here to answer that also. We are discussing Ray's performance like you wanted to, but I think a lot of that would be to discuss why.
As far
it
as
hasn't
these
been
work
happening.
orders go, I'm sure it's somehow prioritized.
Yes,
Now, what else? He might have 20 job orders sitting there right now. I don't know.
yeah.
Maybe he's only got one, maybe he's got none. Maybe he is sloughing off, I don't know.
I'm
There's gotta
going
be
by
some kind
his
of issue with
report.
as much water as we have in lately, that there's a lot of stuff that's a priority. I mean, can they
Right,
patch that with the amount of water that's in there? I don't know. You don't know. Nobody knows. You know, that would be nice if David was here, Mr. Ball was here.
Let me respond. Every Monday morning, we get together, foreman, myself, and we talk about what we're going to accomplish during the week. Obviously, that changes on a daily basis based on very many different factors. Priorities are one of those. And those jobs you all laid out so articulately were in the mix of priorities. Not as high as you want, but they were in the mix of priorities. And they were accomplished when they got to that point. It's a combination of what Lee is saying with the personnel and what we're doing, and maybe that I need to discuss with him about being more thorough on everything within that report. But I try to balance making them spend an hour doing a report or two versus the amount of work that I know he's busy doing. And I think it's spot on about the Saturday work. By the way, MDOT is picking that up 100%, but that job does require some allowance for whole watch and safety watch and different things that we have because it is a confined space. What they were dealing with was a confined space in the collapse. So there are factors that you do not see when you drive by, and I deal with that. I try to work with them on a Monday morning. I try to get them as soon as possible because I know how busy they are through the rest of the week. And they do come back even on Wednesday to do follow-up because we have a regular staff meeting with the office staff as well, and they come back. And I as busy as it is, I try not to burden them with coming back and forth. I just want to make sure the communications are there. So, you know, that is basically, you know, where these fall in line. It's evaluating the list of jobs. You know, you spent numerous meetings talking about stump grinding. Well, you know, we know that that's probably not going to happen until the fall because, quite frankly, we've got these other things to do, and that ties up people as well. So, you know, we have to evaluate. We can't take everything that's brought up and just do it all at the same time. We have to evaluate the priorities. And that leak on Saginaw, I'm sorry, it lasted a long time, but that wasn't a high priority based on what the other leaks we had. At the time that it was brought up, the time it happened, we had 9 leaks going on throughout the project, throughout the area, and much worse than that particular one. So, you know, we have to balance our workload based on that. And I'm not going to apologize, you know, for that, because I think, you know, I know when they're sloughing off and they're not. They are prioritizing the work with my help, and we're getting to what we can.
Well, I'm going by the work performance sheet that we got in our packet, so if it wasn't accurate, I apologize for its accuracy, I guess, but
Well,
I didn't make out the receipt.
I think it's accurate.
work
I
report?
think I'll talk to him about maybe adding some additional items that he's doing that maybe he's not thinking about adding. That may be where we need to be.
Mark, you talked about that hole out there. You know, you said it was out there for a week. We were down on a guy last week. David was gone with the loss of his nephew and a great kid. He wasn't here a lot too, so they're down a guy there. You know, so it probably has been a week or a little bit longer. Not trying to stick up for him, because I agree. There's some things that have to be done, but
And I am following the council policy. Ray knows I follow the council policy because I talk to him regularly. I do not approach the men. Ray knows that.
well, the only question I have is what Mr. Serbia said tonight. Now, you had told him that it was going to be on the agenda, and that was never discussed. I had no idea about that, and I don't want Mr. Serbia upset with me when I see him in public. No, why didn't you do this? I had no idea on that. That should have been brought to the council, the full council, instead of just, you know, if you're telling Mr. Anderson to do it.
Well, I got the sheet and I dropped the sheet off to Ray on what George had as concerns. And I did I not tell you? I gave you the sheet and then I told you it's in your court and you do what you need to do with it.
Yeah, Mr. Servia called the councilman up, asked him to come up and look at it. He went up and looked at it. He dropped off the information. That is like I said, that's a property legal issue, and I have to give it to Grant. I don't know how long it's going to take or what it needs. That's not, you know, you don't want me doing your legal work, you know, so I give it to him. And let's face it, we got the same issue in the office. You know, I go through on a regular basis with Grant about all the things we've got on priority. You know, we try to prioritize it. Where does this fit in the priority? What is he stop what he's doing to do this one as a priority? You know, that's something that you all need to help us decide. So what is that priority list? You know, we try to do it the best we can to not disrupt, you know, and meet your schedule. But again, you know, that's where I left it, is we're talking with Grant, and, you know, he's got, you know, this is a small portion of what he does. He works, you know, on other things as well. So, I mean, yes, Grant, I don't want
So I just wanted to straighten it out, Scott, that I did not take the ball and go with it. I dropped the paper off to Ray the next day, right, Ray?
You did. I don't know where the, you know, miscommunication was about it coming to this council meeting, because I can't make that decision. I don't know when the paperwork's going to be ready.
Well,
You know,
I mean, to the extent of beating this into a dead horse and running this until past 8:30, I didn't know it was supposed to be on the agenda tonight. We spoke about this in the past. I didn't know it was a priority. As you saw from your legal bill last month, it was double what it normally was because we were doing negotiations as well. So I didn't realize this was a priority. George and I have worked in the past a number of different occasions. I know this stuff stresses him out. We've worked well to make sure to alleviate his stress as a valued member of our community. As Mark pointed out, hey, can this get done for the next meeting? Of course it can, now that I know it's a priority, and it'll be pushed to the head of the list. But I was completely unaware that this was on the calendar for today, or that it was rushed in any fashion. We were addressing a number of other issues that are quite lengthy and extensive. So we'll address it, and I think the council spent more than enough time on this issue for the night.
And I'm just saying that if we're gonna do something, I don't have a problem if we bring something, if Mr. Bubbalani or anybody else brings it to the council. But before we ask the manager to move forward with any of that, it should be approved by the council. He shouldn't be, if Mark or anybody else got a complaint, he should not carry that out until the council approves to carry something out about it. Because you need majority of the council to do that. That's my only point.
Yeah, this is not intended to be an excuse for not fixing holes or anything else, but I'm not sure that all of you fully understand how much time Dave and
Brian.
are spending on this underground project. They are on call 24/7, and believe me, they get called. If you were to follow them around on an average week, you'd be surprised how many hours they are spending doing stuff, turning off water. Problems come up continually that you don't even really know about. That takes a lot of their time, and perhaps they want to put those hours on that report so you can see what he's doing. But those guys are spending a lot of time because of this project, so you should just be aware of that.
I understand that too, Bruce, and I know they are spending some time, but we have 5 guys in the department, and, you know, the hole on the main street, I don't believe it. I think that could be taken care of, a quick fix until we figure out what we're gonna do with that area. I just think it needs to be fixed, and I think it needs to be fixed timely, because it's in the mainstream of traffic,
He does have that scheduled for this week.
okay?
He already had that scheduled. We talked
Great.
about it this morning. Because I asked him the same question. You know, those are the same common communications that we have. And, you know, he has to convince me otherwise as well for what his priority or what he thinks the priorities are based on urgency. And that's up there, so.
Is there any other council comments on any issue?
The only other thing I have is I would like to know where we're at with that alley that comes out behind Chico Balls, if anybody went over there and if that's
Do you
squared
wanna-
away or
Do you
what's
want
going on.
to talk about that one too, Bruce? You want to come up? That's the alley that Terry, we've been looking at that, and based on the proximity of the shed and garage of the neighbor, I think that's one of the reasons why it's like what it is. I mean, we would have to cut back
I think you're talking about the one
off a second, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you
Yeah.
can cut it down, but if you cut it down, you got to slope it back, and
It's a
you need a retaining
very
wall.
challenging thing to figure out how to fix because of the garage, the sidewalk elevations and everything else. It's just not an easy
Fix.
fix. Terry knows more of the details than I do, but I've seen it in there.
He went through it with me in my office the other day too, and you just, when you look at how you have to slope it back and how much cut, you'd actually have to take, I think he calculated almost a foot out of the sidewalk, and then you have to slope it back to get your proper sloping. That garage, which is directly east,
I just wanted to make sure somebody
Right.
looked at it, because I know the
It's-
garbage truck can't get down that alley even, they gotta back
Well,
out of there.
I can,
You can fix anything, you don't spend enough money.
yeah,
But
it would take
garage is a
retaining
big
walls.
factor. You can't do much with
Yeah, that's all I wanted to make sure, is
Yeah.
somebody looked at it, because like I said, the garbage truck cannot go through the alley, they gotta come out of there the same way they went in.
Over the last 2 weeks, I can say we spent
Okay.
hours looking at
Okay.
that.
That's all I
looking at
got.
Different ideas.
Mr. Managhini, any other comments?
I have nothing.
Mr. Pop? Council comments?
I would just like to give a big thank you to the community. We lost a young man last week. I had the privilege to coach him, get to know him, work with him. He was a great kid. The parents did a great job raising him, respectful, and just looking at everything, the community really stepped up, and I'm proud to be a part of this community. I'm very proud.
Thank you. Ms. Brew, no comments? I have no other comments at this time. Mr. Carlson, any comments? Or
No, thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Anderson, any? other
Nothing at
comments?
this time.
You had one comment over here?
Well, my comment was just gonna be back to the hole on Main Street here. I did talk to David last week after that happened, and because of all the rain, they had to wait, and he's been in contact with many people, other county they had to wait because of all the rain to see what was going on there. They tried to do some work on it, but they could only go so far at that time. That's
Okay.
why it's still that way.
So we need a motion to be adjourned.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Support.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.